Happy hump day to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for coming in here at 10:30 on 13 WMAZ Plus for a look at your extended forecast. So going into more detail about what the days ahead do lie with and in terms of what we are going to see at the beginning of the weekend, because that's our main talking point with our forecast. Our rain chances are looking a little bit greater, but how much greater, and are they going to have any severe weather implications? But for today and tomorrow, the small rain chances will continue each and every afternoon as our temperatures are at the warmest. We do have sufficient moisture content. However, just like the last couple of days, not much rain looks to be coming into fruition. Showers and storms are going to start arriving Friday into Saturday. They could even linger a little bit into Sunday, so we'll go over what the models say as of the latest currently as we go out about 3 days. The extended, or our short range future view rather, goes all the way into the Friday night hours as we get into the early morning hours on Saturday. So we'll see what it says as a front does approach Central Georgia heading into the beginning of your weekend. And then something maybe to look forward to. We've been in the stretch of low to mid to upper 80s each and every day. If that's a little bit too warm for your liking, well, the highs will cool down slightly as we head into the beginning of next week. And also, we may be bringing back a bit of a chill in the air as we kick off some mornings for the work week next week. So this Wednesday in the late morning hours heading into the afternoon, you can see it is bright and sunny all across Central Georgia. We do have some higher level, some cirrus clouds, the kind of thin wispy clouds that you see that don't do much in the way of blocking your sunlight. That's the case up in the Georgia National Fairgrounds in the top left. Downtown Macon, the cloud cover looking even thinner. Actually, down in Perry is where we're actually seeing the most cloud cover, but like I said, still not really blocking that image of the sunlight. And then we see down in Warner Robins at CGTC, looking off onto Cohen Walker Drive, where it looks like everything is nice and dry, plenty of sunshine to be found. And then down in Dublin and Lawrence County, plenty of blue sky also to be found with our sky cam down there. Taking a look at your current temperatures, low to starting to approach the mid 70s. We have areas that are maybe a little bit cooler, like 72 in Thomaston, 73 in Roberta, Butler, up into downtown Macon. 75, one of the warmest temperatures we see in Warner Robins, but also down in Wilcox County and Telfair County in McRae. And down in McRae, they've actually were one of our lower temperature values this morning. They've already seen nearly a 20-degree increase with these temperatures, and they are only going to continue to climb. But 73, 74, pretty popular number as we approach the 11 a.m. hour. Current temperatures all across the eastern half of the United States. Plenty of green up to our north, indicating some temperatures still a bit chilly into the upper 50s, areas like Kansas City, St. Louis, over to Indianapolis. But as you make your way down towards the south, 75 in Nashville, 79 down in Panama City. I think that's actually it was the warmest temperature I saw until I looked at Laredo down here in southern Texas. 82 degrees, and keep in mind that is an hour later in Texas, so it's only about 9:30 over there, and Laredo is already that warm. Areas farther over to the west of Texas still seeing some shades of blue because they haven't quite gotten into that warming trend just after sunrise, and obviously the Rocky Mountains over there west of Denver are going to be rather chilly. So how about our moisture content? We've seen it fluctuate very not really drastically, but slightly over the last couple of days. Some patches of not seeing any color whatsoever, so the far right of this scale indicating some pretty dry air and some pockets of slightly drier air. We do see plenty of light green on this dew point temperature map, indicating some dew points maybe into the lower half of the 60s, but some patches of dark green over to the west in Alabama. Keep in mind, that's going to be where your more humid air is present throughout today, along with up in the northern portion of the state. Those are where we're kind of looking at it to correlate a little bit with our rain chances, mainly out of central Georgia, but we still do have some moisture in the forecast, so we can obviously see our fair share of rain when temperatures do get warm in the afternoon around 3, 4, and 5 o'clock. Not much of a breeze, maybe about 5 to 8, 9 miles per hour. No shades of blue or yellow on your winds and wind gust map, and the winds will remain pretty stagnant throughout today as we head into the second half of your work week now. So hour by hour, what will our temperatures do? Really close to the 80-degree mark at midday and eventually climbing somewhere into the mid-80s as we go into that warmest portion of the day. 85 is what our meteogram has us topping out with. I do believe we'll crawl to a temperature a little bit higher than that, maybe the first time we've seen the upper 80s in some time. So satellite and radar picture, some mostly clear skies and most of this cloud cover that you see very, very faint in color, not seeing those kind of bright whites like you see over around LaGrange, getting back over into Auburn along the I-85 corridor back in East Alabama. That's going to be some of your clouds that are a little bit denser in nature, but nonetheless, nothing to talk about in the way of precipitation on your satellite and radar currently. Let's zoom it out, go big picture view for the entire state of Georgia. Can't find anything in the way of rain this Wednesday morning, and that goes for all the states around us. Alabama not seeing anything in the way of rain. However, mostly cloudy skies stretching down from Birmingham to Montgomery. South Carolina looking like the same story, a few clouds here and there. Northern Florida, no precipitation. So the southeast is all clear right now. Doesn't look like we have any weather systems approaching from the states to our immediate west. But we need to talk about the surface map because this is going to tell the story about our weather that we will have as we go into the weekend. So we were talking about it on Monday, and Ansley probably referred to it a little bit yesterday during this stream. This is a frontal boundary that has tried to push down from the north and the northwest, and it had more of a diagonal kind of orientation with it. So it was more so stretching from Texas, say drastically up into the Great Lakes area, maybe areas around Chicago, up into Wisconsin. Well, this front has pushed down a little bit farther to the south, but what it has done, it has taken kind of that diagonal direction. If you can say this, my right hand is going to be the top of the front, and then where my hand with the clicker right here is the bottom of the front. It has kind of shifted to have more of a west to east orientation, so kind of just directly sideways and horizontal. And since it's done that, the left side of this boundary has stalled out, so indicating the stationary boundary right there when you get the mix of the warm front and the cold front icons. And then this is all attached to a new development as of the latest model run that I did see on WPC. Right now, a low pressure center has established itself somewhere over kind of the northwest portion of Texas. So number one, you're going to see your fair share of active weather all along areas of this low pressure center, including along the stationary boundary, even a severe thunderstorm warning just south of the boundary up in north and northeast Texas. Well, this low pressure center is going to continue to strengthen, and it is going to slide up to the northeast, kind of along the direction of this boundary right here. But the western portion of the stationary boundary is going to start to form into a cold front, and that's going to go down towards the south of that red L that you do see, and then that's going to make its push into towards the east into the southeast United States. But as it gets to states like Mississippi and Alabama just to our west, it's not going to have that continuous motion. It's going to really start to slow down in speed, and that's going to extend the time period that we could see some scattered showers and some scattered storms even throughout the course of Friday and Saturday. So don't really pay attention to anything going on here to the northeast. That's not going to impact us. That's going to continue to remain stationary just to the north of us. So right now, that's why we're looking at better rain chances in North Georgia today, because this boundary may sag a little bit farther to the south, and areas around that stationary boundary will have better chances of precipitation, as it is pretty close to the northern portion of the state, but not close enough here in central Georgia. So yesterday's almanac, we'll go over the numbers very first, and then we'll show you future view. 84 for a high temperature. We got down to 59 yesterday morning in downtown Macon. I do believe we hit a similar number today, either 58 or 59 for the morning low temperature. So above average for the average low this time of year, and above average for the average high, just only 2 degrees above average, but still falling short of these low 90s that we've seen that have been record-breaking in the past. Nowhere near even the 40s, let alone the upper 30s, like we continue to see these record lows that have been set. So precipitation-wise, we haven't really received any rain at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. Some areas have gotten lucky with some scattered showers over the past couple of days, over the last week or so. But this puts us, we're starting to flirt with about 2.5 inches below average of where we should be this time of year. The good news is we have a good amount of a time period, probably about Friday and Saturday, both to hopefully put a dent in that number. Sunrise yesterday, 6:49 in the morning. Sunset was at 8:15. Wow, it is just shocking to continue to see these numbers get a little bit later and a little bit earlier as we head into the longer days of the year. But how about today's almanac? Still going to see virtually the same average high and average low. We got a couple degrees above that average low this time of year. Some areas like Dublin and Eastman even actually did hit that average low this time of year, but still nowhere near the record of 40 degrees back in 1992. And then 94 today. we will be in a good middle ground, kind of right smack dab in the middle of the average high and the record high. Nowhere near the 90s still, but it is the closest we have been to the 90s in quite some time. It feels like we've hit a good stretch of the low to mid 80s, and it's still going to be a warm day. And while 87, what I have forecasted for the high today, does seem a little bit warm, it's only a couple of degrees warmer than what we have had each and every afternoon with these partly cloudy skies. But you do see the small rain chance on there, and I've gone with the 20% really once again to kind of cover the bases, because when you're warm and when you have humidity in the forecast, you could see activity flare up a little bit more than what our models are saying. However, I do believe most everyone is going to remain dry throughout today, just partly cloudy skies, maybe a little bit of a breeze, but not necessarily too noticeable. Yesterday there was a nice breeze that was present, but maybe not noticing it once again, like I said today. 87 for a high, that would put us 5 degrees above average for this time of year. So yes, we're rounding out the month of April on a pretty warm note. We get into May tomorrow officially, so 90s are hopefully not going to be on the horizon too soon. But once we get into May, we know those temperatures start to give us an early preview of summer here in central Georgia, even though summer doesn't start until somewhere in the second half of June. So let's plan out your next 3 days. You see activity already starting to fire up over to the west of us, maybe to the north of us. That's because areas to the north are going to be closer to that stationary boundary I was talking about up in states like Tennessee and Kentucky. But also over to the west, we were talking about those shades of dark green. So they have a little bit more moisture in the atmosphere in some areas of Alabama. So that's why you see scattered showers beginning to pop up in those areas. So we go throughout the afternoon into the evening in central Georgia. Rain chances are still looking slim to none according to this latest future view run, but you could run across a shower or two, maybe a brief pocket of some steady and heavy rain, but it's only going to last about 5 to 10 minutes, just going to be very isolated in nature, like what we saw yesterday. Maybe some light and steady showers over in Crawford County, areas over to the west of us getting to the Georgia-Alabama state line. And then anything that does pop up as we head into the nighttime hours past sunset, that's going to fizzle out and dissipate. Starting out Thursday morning, very similar to how we started out this morning. Hopefully some mostly clear skies. If we see anything, it's just going to be those high level clouds. And that's what is looking to be the case over to the east, where we will be looking for yet another beautiful sunrise. Thursday afternoon, we could see more cloud cover in the picture. So maybe not necessarily partly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy skies, and that will keep the temperature down a degree or two from what we'll hit today. But rain chances are still looking very, very minuscule. However, activity does get a little more organized over to the west of us back into Alabama for tomorrow night. So we do see this line of scattered showers and a couple of thunderstorms, some dark colors, some dark reds enveloped within this line over here. This will continue to push towards central Georgia, but take a look at what happens as we go into the nighttime hours for Thursday into Friday. We play it through this pause point, and this whole line just completely dissolves. Really just loses its steam as it moves into a cooler area, because our temperatures will already be cooling down. This is 1 a.m. on Friday, and not saying that we can't see some scattered showers as we go from Thursday night into Friday early morning. Most of you are already going to be fast asleep, so it's just going to be a few water droplets that you're walking out to on your windshield as you get ready for work on Friday. Friday at 12 p.m. we are still staying dry in central Georgia, but I did mention that front is going to push in from the west, but it's going to start to slow in speed. So it's really not going to make its way through central Georgia by this time. It's going to kind of sit in areas over to the west of us, and that's what you're going to see once we head just past the midday hour into the warmer portions of the day. Activity does start to flare up, and then we finally look to have at least some decent coverage of some scattered rain. I mean, it's still not looking very impressive whatsoever in terms of organization by any means, but this is all going to be ahead of this frontal boundary where there is a bunch of lift, and you can see some pockets of some steadier rain. Wouldn't even rule out a thunderstorm or two, but we're not looking at anything in the way of severe storms as of right now. I wouldn't rule it out just given this time of year. We can see sporadic activity, a severe thunderstorm virtually pop up out of anywhere, but it's still looking like mainly just going to be low-end thunderstorms. If you see anything, a couple rumbles of thunder, some pockets of heavier rain. We'll continue to see if we get put in any kind of severe weather outlook that we have not been outlooked in as of right now. But going about your Friday night plans, probably going to want the umbrella and the rain jacket because you may come across one or two of these showers. But the good news is the later that you're out on Friday, that's when the rain chances start to diminish once again. So this boundary has still not even made its way through central Georgia going into the overnight hours, really early morning on Saturday. So we pick it up with the long range models because that's as far as future view goes, 3 a.m. on Saturday. And then once again, you can kind of get a better picture of where this boundary actually is. It is not going to make much progress. It is actually still going to be well off to our west and our northwest. This is Saturday afternoon around 4 p.m. Still not seeing a slam dunk forecast for any type of organization, a continuous line of rain moving through. There are some areas of broken shades of these greens and these blues as it does trek through, but we're also not seeing a lot of agreement on the timing. If we go the GFS route here in green, we can see these rain chances begin to move out as early as late night Saturday into early Sunday, but the European in blue is trying to hint that we could see some of this rain try to stick around at least for the morning hours on Sunday. But then this front does really kick into gear, finally moves off the Atlantic coast. So we should be rounding out the weekend nice and dry for your Sunday evening plans. And then going into the beginning of the week, a lot of this moisture just sits off the Atlantic coast. And then unless you're walking your dog off here on the Atlantic coast of Georgia, I think you should be good. We won't be seeing anything in the way of rain right here, but maybe getting some kind of organization to it, maybe developing into a low pressure center, and we could see some of this moisture just kind of hang around the Atlantic coast of the state of Georgia, state of Florida, state of South Carolina, heading into the beginning of next week. But it still looks like we're going to be mostly dry here for your Monday, Tuesday, and hopefully your Wednesday as well. And then maybe some more active weather starting to form over towards the west. We'd probably be about due for another rainmaker or two as we head into the end of next week. But something that this front is actually going to do, it's going to drop our temperatures down just a little bit. And I know we're still talking 80s, but 87 for today, that's the highest temperature I have forecasted. I think we'll be a little bit cooler in light of some rain showers that could happen on Friday and those mostly cloudy skies for your Thursday. And then once we get into the end of your weekend, Saturday and Sunday, a good amount of rain could still be in the picture, not allowing our temperatures to climb into the mid to upper 80s. And then after the front does pass, only going to get the high temperatures maybe in the low 80s, around 80 degrees, and that will continue for your Monday and Tuesday when I show you the 7-day in 1 second. But how about the morning lows? This is something that we haven't talked about too much. It's just been a pleasant feel each and every morning that you walk outside. Will continue to be that way for not only your Thursday and your Friday, but on Saturday, and then Sunday, maybe a little bit cooler. Pretty similar, a couple areas dipping down into the upper 50s. However, upper 50s, low 60s, not really feeling any different whatsoever. But we could see these numbers get into the bottom end of the 50s by the time we're starting out on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll kind of work backwards on your 7-day forecast. Monday and Tuesday, 53 and 52 for low temperatures as we kickstart those days. If you do, obviously we've had these pleasant mornings, so you're probably pretty used to just walking outside and already feeling pretty nice. But you may notice a bit of a chill in the air. Use it as another opportunity to grab your favorite quarter zip, maybe a light hoodie or something, just to keep you warm as you head out the door. And they won't last very long. They will begin to warm up as we go into about the 7:30 window. High temperatures around 80 degrees, even a degree or two below average. By the time we get to Monday and Tuesday next week, I believe our average high will definitely climb to somewhere around 83 degrees. So we're actually going to fall below that average threshold as it does stand right now. So you do see this 20% chance of rain on Sunday. Long range models weren't showing any rain, but we could see this front continue to progress pretty slowly and just really extend that period of rain where we can, or period of time, where we can see the rain over the course of this weekend. So 20% until we get a better view of it on our short range future view. And once again, that will be the case for Saturday, but it does look like the potential for seeing a couple of thunderstorms does exist Friday evening specifically and lingering into the day on Saturday as the front hasn't made its way through yet. It's making that slow progress. So each day when we do get at our warmest, activity is going to start to sprout ahead of that actual boundary. Not necessarily too organized, not a continuous line of rain. So that's why we're still going with 40%. So if we see the coverage go up on some of the short range future view model runs, then we'll probably up that chance. But as I'm looking at it right now, I think Saturday may actually even be the better day for seeing some rain as opposed to your Friday, because Friday it still looks like the front is a good ways away, but it will send a little bit better coverage of rain as opposed to the next 2 days. Your forecast for the last day of April and the first day of May, pretty similar in nature. Pleasant feel to start the days, somewhere in the mid to upper 80s for high temperatures. You will probably remain mostly dry throughout the entirety of the next 2 days, but still 20% chance of seeing a shower. That also means an 80% chance that you aren't going to see anything. And I think if I were to go along with what Future View is saying, I would bump those both down to about a 10% chance of a light shower, but still maintaining the 20% because we are in this early summer preview where you get rain chances popping up each and every afternoon. So we could see the radar be a little more active than what Future View says. Still don't think anything in the way of severe weather the next 2 days, let alone for the next 7 days. As it does stand right now, we're keeping a close eye on your Friday and Saturday because many of you will have your outdoor plans kickstarting the weekend, and anything in the way of a severe weather outlook is something that we will obviously be the first to update you with about the potential for seeing some strong to severe storms, what impacts specifically they could have, like we've seen in recent weeks. Maybe a risk of hail, maybe a risk of some gusty winds, but no severe weather outlook as it does stand right now. Getting into the beginning of next week, next Monday, going to be Cinco de Mayo. If you have any plans to go out to dinner with your friends or your family, going to be absolutely splendid weather to do it. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures not too warm, going to actually be below average, and hopefully we'll keep that pattern around as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, and even farther next week. But after we get into probably Tuesday, I think that's going to be the coolest morning that we have after the passage of this front. We will see these temperatures start to increase once again, and hopefully we're not dealing with 90s at the end of next week. But once again, like I always love to say, we'll cross that bridge once we get there. It is still looking like the same story for today and tomorrow, and we're keeping an eye on Friday and Saturday. But go ahead and make plans to have the rain gear ready if you have any Friday night plans, and if you have any plans throughout the day on Saturday. And obviously, if the weather is to get a little bit stronger, the rainfall is pretty heavy, you hear some rumbles of thunder, go ahead and have a contingency plan to make your way indoors. So thank you for tuning in here for your extended forecast on 13 WMAZ+. We'll be back here once again for another update on your weekend forecast tomorrow at 10:30 sharp.